America's Invisible Revolution, the Black Women Entrepreneurs, Building an Economy that Works for Everyone. Thank you all for being here today. I'm truly honored to stand before you to share the extraordinary insights I've gained from my extensive interviews with Janai Mason, a visionary researcher and advocate whose groundbreaking work is fundamentally transforming how we understand entrepreneurship, economic equity, and the untapped potential of Black women in America's business landscape. Janai isn't just collecting data, she's documenting a revolution that most of America can't even see. Her meticulous research cuts through the comfortable myths we tell ourselves about opportunity in this country, and her passionate advocacy has illuminated critical blind spots in our economic narratives that have kept us blind to both injustice and opportunity. What makes her work so powerful is that she doesn't just identify problems. She maps pathways to solutions that could unleash unprecedented economic growth and innovation for all Americans. We live in a time when headlines constantly celebrate economic recovery, entrepreneurial booms, and record breaking business creation. These stories paint a seductive picture of widespread prosperity and opportunity. But what if I told you that beneath these triumphant narratives lies a more complex and troubling reality? What if the very metrics we use to measure economic progress are obscuring profound inequities that continue to shape who succeeds and who struggles in our economy? This is the counterintuitive truth that emerged from my conversations with Janae Mason. Despite all our talk of progress, despite all our diversity initiatives and inclusion programs, we continue to witness one of the most remarkable disconnects in American economic life. Black women represent the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in the United States while simultaneously facing the steepest systemic barriers to success. Let that sink in for a moment. The most entrepreneurially ambitious demographic in America is also the one confronting the most formidable obstacles. This isn't just an unfortunate coincidence, it's a revealing contradiction that exposes fundamental flaws in how we structure economic opportunity. The data Janai shared with me is striking and frankly disturbing. Even as national employment numbers rise, Black women are disproportionately affected by job losses and rollbacks in workplace support systems. In April 2025 alone, Black women lost 106,000 jobs, a stark contrast with overall national gains. This challenges the common narrative that economic progress is shared equally across all groups. In reality, these disparities persist even during periods of general growth. What makes this situation particularly remarkable is the resilience and innovation displayed by Black women entrepreneurs in the face of these challenges. They lead as one of the fastest growing segments in business ownership, yet must navigate entrenched obstacles such as limited access to capital and reduced institutional support. The question we should all be asking is, if Black women can achieve this much while swimming against such powerful currents, what might be possible if those currents weren't working against them? Consider the story of Walker's Legacy, a national organization supporting multicultural women entrepreneurs that Janai highlighted in our interviews. The organization's members consistently face difficulty securing loans from traditional banks due to systemic bias, not because of poor business plans or lack of qualifications, but because of who they were. The solution? Walker's Legacy partnered with community development financial institutions, specifically targeting lending for Black women owned businesses. The results were transformative. Increased loan approvals led members' businesses to grow at rates above industry averages between 2019 and 2023. Founded after recognizing a lack of tailored resources for minority businesswomen following the Great Recession, Walker's legacy has helped over 15,000 founders secure funding, with average member revenue growing more than 30% between 2019 and 2023. They've set a new standard for culturally competent entrepreneurial support nationwide. But here's what's truly remarkable about this story. These entrepreneurs didn't need special advantages or preferential treatment to succeed. They simply needed the removal of artificial barriers that had nothing to do with their talent, vision, or work ethic. When given access to the same resources that other entrepreneurs take for granted, they didn't just succeed, they excelled. This pattern repeats itself across sectors and industries. Janai shared another powerful example with me involving a cohort of mid career federal employees organized by SistersLead who faced job insecurity after significant cuts in government positions beginning in late 2024. Many had built careers relying on public sector stability, and sudden layoffs threatened their financial security disproportionately compared to other groups. Rather than accepting this setback, they created peer led upskilling workshops focused on digital skills needed in private sector roles while collectively advocating for transparent rehiring policies. The outcome? Over half transitioned successfully into tech adjacent private roles within 6 months, and several became small business owners themselves. Sisters Lead was formed during earlier rounds of government shutdowns, but expanded rapidly following recent mass layoffs affecting thousands. They've provided career transition resources now adopted by similar groups nationwide. What this story demonstrates is that collective action can buffer against policy driven setbacks and foster entrepreneurial pivots. It shows that when faced with structural challenges, Black women don't just adapt individually, they build systems of mutual support that elevate entire communities. Perhaps the most striking example Janai shared with me is BlkWomenTalkTech, an annual conference founded by three tech entrepreneurs aiming to close funding gaps for underrepresented founders. Attendees reported persistent rejection from venture capitalists despite strong business metrics, often citing implicit bias rather than performance issues. The conference connects founders directly with mission aligned investors while providing pitch training tailored toward overcoming stereotype based objections. The impact has been substantial. Over $50 million raised cumulatively since inception, with several alumni scaling nationally recognized startups. The conference was sparked when its founders realized existing tech conferences rarely featured or funded projects led by Black women, even those outperforming peers on key metrics. They've created an ecosystem where success stories inspire further investment into diverse talent pipelines and helped shift venture capital industry norms toward greater inclusivity through data backed advocacy campaigns. These stories reveal something profound about our economic system. The conventional wisdom suggests that markets efficiently allocate resources to the most promising opportunities. But what these cases show is that our markets are distorted by biases and structural inequities that prevent capital from flowing to some of the most innovative and determined entrepreneurs in our economy. This isn't just a moral failing, it's an economic catastrophe. When we systematically underinvest in Black women entrepreneurs, we're not just being unfair to them. We're depriving our entire economy of the businesses, innovations, and job creation they would generate with adequate support. We're leaving economic growth on the table because of biases that have nothing to do with business potential. As Janai Mason's research demonstrates, progress for Black professionals requires not just individual excellence, but also intentional efforts from organizations and policymakers to dismantle barriers and ensure equitable opportunity for advancement. The resilience displayed by Black women entrepreneurs isn't just inspiring, it's economically significant. It represents a vast reservoir of untapped potential that could transform industries and create prosperity across communities if properly supported. This brings me to a fundamental insight from my conversation with Janae. Our economic narratives often focus on individual success stories while ignoring the systemic factors that make those successes rare exceptions rather than common outcomes. We celebrate the Black woman entrepreneur who secures venture funding without acknowledging that she had to be exceptional just to receive what others get with average performance. We applaud the woman who overcomes barriers without questioning why those barriers exist in the first place. This framing places the burden of change on individuals rather than systems. It suggests that the solution to economic inequality is for marginalized people to work harder, be more resilient, and overcome greater obstacles, rather than for us to dismantle the obstacles themselves. What would it look like if we shifted this narrative? What if instead of asking Black women entrepreneurs to adapt to biased systems, we transformed those systems to recognize and reward their talents fairly? What if we acknowledged that the most entrepreneurial demographic in America deserves the most robust support, not the most persistent barriers? The answers to these questions aren't just theoretical, they're practical and urgent. As Janai Mason's research shows, we're witnessing a hidden revolution in American entrepreneurship, led by Black women who refuse to be deterred by systemic obstacles. But imagine how much more powerful this revolution could be if those obstacles were removed. This isn't just about fairness, though fairness certainly matters. It's about unleashing economic potential that benefits everyone. When we limit opportunities for Black women entrepreneurs, we don't just harm them, we harm our collective prosperity. We deprive ourselves of businesses that would create jobs, innovations that would solve problems, and economic activity that would generate wealth across communities. So, where do we go from here? How do we translate these insights into action? First, we need to recognize that supporting Black women entrepreneurs isn't charity or special treatment. It's smart economics. It's about allocating resources efficiently to those who will use them productively. Second, we need to acknowledge that individual success stories, while inspiring, aren't substitutes for systemic change. We should celebrate those who overcome barriers while working to eliminate those barriers altogether. Third, we need to invest in organizations like Walker's Legacy, SistersLead, and Women Talk Tech that are creating alternative pathways to success when traditional ones remain blocked. But most importantly, I challenge each of you today to examine the power you hold as investors, business leaders, policymakers, or simply as consumers. Ask yourself, what systems am I part of that might be creating invisible barriers? What resources do I control that could be directed toward this untapped potential? Who am I overlooking that might represent the future of American innovation? The hidden revolution led by Black women entrepreneurs isn't waiting for permission or recognition to transform our economy. It's happening right now against the odds, creating value despite the barriers. Imagine what could happen if we removed those barriers. Imagine the businesses that would flourish, the jobs that would be created, the innovations that would emerge. This isn't just a nice idea, it's an economic imperative. In a global economy where talent and innovation determine success, can we really afford to keep sidelining our most entrepreneurial demographic? Can we really pretend to value meritocracy while maintaining systems that hold back merit based on gender and race? The revolution is already here. The question is whether we'll join it or stand in its way. The future of our economy may depend on how we answer. Thank you.